They thought it was just a supply ship. April 2025. The Red Sea is calm, sun coming up. Another day in a region stuck between tension and truce. Just days earlier, a fragile ceasefire between the US and the Houthis was announced. No direct strikes, no open escalation. But that truce, it didn't cover accidents. It didn't stop drones. And it sure as hell didn't erase mistrust. And somewhere under those waters, a U.S. submarine is running silent. The USS New Mexico, a Virginia-class attack sub, 230 feet deep, watching, listening, waiting. Meanwhile, a Houthi sonar operator picks up something big. No escort, no cover, a slow blip near the Yemeni coast. Their guess, logistics ship. So they launch a UUV, an unmanned underwater vehicle, loaded with explosives. What they don't know is that they're aiming at something far more dangerous. And if that truce was holding, it's about to crack. The USS New Mexico didn't take damage, but that wasn't the point. Because in submarine warfare, even being detected is considered a failure. Being touched? That's unheard of. And now, with that UUV brushing the hull, even without exploding, every protocol kicked in. This wasn't about a scratch on steel. This is about what it meant. An American submarine had been hit in a war zone during a ceasefire. Just days before this incident, a temporary ceasefire had been declared between the US and the Houthis. No direct strikes, no escalation, but that ceasefire was thin, unofficial, fragile, and based on mutual restraint. It didn't cover accidents, it didn't cover underwater drones, and it definitely didn't cover American submarines, because US subs are a different category. They're not just weapons, they're strategic assets, platforms that carry cruise missiles, gather intelligence, and in some cases, support special operations teams. If you mess with one, you're not just poking the Navy. You're poking a Tier 1 element of U.S. defense. The USS New Mexico didn't surface, it didn't fire, but it didn't have to. Its signal reached the Eisenhower strike group in under 3 seconds, and from there, protocols took over. Because whether the attack was on purpose or not, the response always assumes the worst. Here's how it works. First, the sub confirms there's no critical damage. Then, it hands off all sensor data, acoustic, thermal, magnetic signatures up the chain. And once the threat is confirmed, the gloves come off. No one says, let's wait and see. Because in the Red Sea, wait and see gets people killed. So while the Houthis were still trying to figure out what their UUV actually hit, US analysts already had the drone's launch point, its path, and most likely the people who programmed it. It doesn't matter if it was an accident. The moment you touch a US submarine, you trigger the machine. And now, the machine was moving. The sub they hit wasn't just any submarine. It was the USS New Mexico SSN 779, a Virginia-class attack sub built for one thing: dominance below the surface. And if the Houthis had known that, they might have just picked a different target. Let's break that down. The USS New Mexico is nuclear-powered, which means it can stay underwater for months without surfacing. It doesn't need air, it doesn't need fuel, it just glides through the ocean, silent as a ghost. Its hull is wrapped in anechoic coatings, basically rubber panels that absorb sonar. Its propulsor is a pump jet, not a propeller, which cuts down noise to almost nothing. You don't hear this sub coming, you don't see it, You only know it was there when it's already gone. And it's not just sneaky, it's dangerous. It carries Tomahawk cruise missiles, Mark 48 torpedoes, and can even deploy special ops teams through a dry deck shelter. It's got real teeth, and it's usually part of a much larger picture, gathering intel, mapping threats, or hunting other subs. But here's the crazy part. When the UUV got close, the New Mexico didn't panic. It didn't even change depth. It ran its drills. The sonar operator picked up the incoming UUV. Small profile, slow moving, but oddly aggressive. Not a mine, not debris, something guided, and it was coming fast. The sub executed a quiet lateral shift. The UUV scraped the hull but didn't detonate. Still, that contact was enough. Inside the control room, every sailor knew what that meant. The captain didn't shout, he didn't need to. The crew trains for this every week. A silent command was sent. Data packages uplinked, secure channels activated. And while the world above was still quiet, the Eisenhower Strike Group was already receiving full tactical telemetry. Heading, velocity, sonar signature, launch vector. No one aboard the USS New Mexico knew if the attack was deliberate, but they did know one thing for sure. It wasn't going unanswered. By the time the UUV touched the hull, the Eisenhower Strike Group was already watching. And they didn't wait. Carrier strike groups don't monitor situations, they act. From the Combat Information Center aboard the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, the alert came in as a burst data stream. No voice, no delays, just sonar returns, contact reports, and one message that mattered. Submarine contact, unknown UUV, hull proximity confirmed. That's not a drill, that's go time. The Eisenhower's radar spun up. Destroyers in the group activated surface and subsurface tracking. Electronic warfare crews prepped jamming pods. Aegis combat systems began compiling firing solutions just in case. This wasn't about panic. This was about posture. Because even though the ceasefire was technically in place, a hit on a U.S. submarine, intentional or not, moves the entire board. The USS Gravely, an early Berg-class destroyer sailing nearby, went active with sonar pings, scanning for additional drones. P-8 Poseidon aircraft launched from an airstrip in Djibouti, equipped with sonobuoys and anti-submarine sensors. And overhead, EA-18G Growlers from the Ike's air wing began circling high, ready to jam enemy radar, blind comms, and cloak U.S. movement in a digital fog. The U.S. Navy operates under strict engagement protocols, and one of them is very clear. If a strategic asset is touched, even once, you act. So while the public still had no clue anything had happened, the U.S. military had already authorized a tiered response. Limited, precise, and immediate. It started with the name, Operation Deep Pinpoint. Not revenge, not escalation, just a removal of risk. The first order came from the Eisenhower's command deck. Prepare a multi-domain strike package. That meant combining sea-launched cruise missiles with coordinated air support. The goal was to neutralize the UUV launch site, nothing more. And make sure that everyone got the message. From the USS Gravely, the VLS hatches creaked open, primed with Tomahawk cruise missiles, each one programmed with a fixed GPS target, a hardened facility west of Ras Issa, believed to house underwater drone systems. Meanwhile, above the strike group, a Hawkeye E-2D radar aircraft coordinated the airspace, and right behind it, a pair of EA-18G Growlers, electronic warfare jets designed to shut down enemy comms and blind their radar. That's the first wave. The second wave was the teeth. 4 FA-18 Super Hornets cat-launched from the Eisenhower's flight deck, fully armed with GBU-38 JDAMs and AGM-154 JSOWs, joint standoff weapons. Smart bombs designed to hit fixed targets with pinpoint accuracy from dozens of miles away. The whole operation was about timing. Growlers went in first, broadcasting spectrum jamming across Houthi-controlled frequencies. Satellite dishes on the coast went dark. Enemy radar blinked offline. Confusion flooded the network. Then came the Hornets, flying fast and low along the Yemeni coastline, hugging the water to stay under any remaining radar coverage. Their targets? The primary one, the UUV control center near Ras Isa. Secondary, a nearby comms relay believed to guide drone navigation. And the third, a small weapons cache spotted by thermal imaging during ISR passes. The Tomahawks hit first. Long, fast, and quiet, each one punched through reinforced roofing with a delay-fused warhead, detonating deep inside the structure. Then came the JDAMs, following from 20,000 feet, silent until the last second. Explosions rocked the shoreline. Fires erupted and, most importantly, there was no return fire. No radar locks, no anti-air response, no retaliation. That told commanders everything they needed to know. They caught the site by surprise. The Houthis weren't expecting the sub to be in range, much less a full retaliatory package within minutes. And for anyone watching from Tehran to Damascus to Moscow, the message was clear. Touch the wrong platform, and the sky falls. The whole strike lasted less than 7 minutes, but it rewrote the rules of the Red Sea overnight. The strike was over. 7 minutes, 3 confirmed hits, 0 American casualties. But the damage wasn't just physical, it was strategic. And in warfare, that's the kind that lasts. Intercepted chatter from Houthi channels told the story. Silence, then chaos. Commanders barking partial orders, units going dark. Some ground teams trying to reroute through backup frequencies, others just dropping off the map completely. Whatever command structure had launched that UUV, well, it wasn't talking anymore. ISR platforms like the MQ-4C Triton kept watch overhead. They tracked heat signatures, vehicle movement, and signals across the region. The Triton's feed showed armed pickups leaving the facility at full speed. Some headed inland, some just stopped cold. No one stuck around to defend it. This wasn't a full-scale warhead barrage. It was about taking territory or collapsing infrastructure. It was a message. You can hit drones. You can even target destroyers. But you don't touch a submarine. Not in international waters, not near a carrier group, not without consequences. And while the White House made no public statement, the response from CENTCOM was clear. De-escalation remains the goal, but U.S. assets will be defended as necessary. Translation? We're still watching. Try it again. We won't hesitate. What followed was a quiet shift. U.S. subs in the region adjusted patrol paths. Strike groups reinforced their air cover. And coalition allies from France to the UK tightened coordination across the Red Sea corridor. Even Houthi propaganda channels went quiet. No victory videos, no claims of downed aircraft, just recycled footage from old attacks, none matching what actually happened. The incident was erased in public. Because now every Houthi drone launch team, every radar crew and comms operator knows, if you target something under the surface, you're gambling with fire, and the next time, it might not be a warning shot. So here's the real question. What if it wasn't an accident? What if the UUV was never meant for a supply ship? What if the Houthis or their advisors knew what they were targeting? Because that changes everything. If this was just a test run, a probe, a signal, it means the rules just shifted. And not just in the Red Sea. In underwater warfare, intent matters less than capability. Once you show that you can get that close to a sub, it doesn't matter if you meant to. You just proved you could. And for the US Navy, that's a red line. Virginia-class submarines are more than just tools of war. They're strategic assets, eyes, ears, and sometimes the first strike option in a high-threat theater. They don't surface for photo ops, they don't announce their presence. If one is seen, or worse, touched, that's a failure of silence. And that silence is everything. So if the Houthis can't reach a sub with a UUV, even once, it opens a door that's hard to close. Next time it might not be a brush against the hull. It might be a detonation, a breach, a direct hit. And if that happens, ceasefire or not, the gloves come off. Because you can down a drone and get away with it. You might even clip a destroyer and spin it as propaganda. But a submarine? That's different. And if you're watching this and thinking, this couldn't really happen, just remember, underwater drones are already in play. And submarines like the USS New Mexico are already out there right now. All it takes is one bad signal, one wrong ID, one fast decision in a control room that never gets a second chance. Then everything changes. So what do you think? Do you believe the Houthis will ever try to hit a US submarine for real? Could a group like that really risk it? Or was this type of attack just a matter of time? Let us know what you think in the comments. Do you see underwater drones becoming the next big threat? Or do you think submarines are still too silent, too dangerous to mess with? Make sure you drop a comment. We read every single one. And if this scenario got you thinking, if it gave you a clearer look at how underwater warfare could unfold, then hit that like button so we know you're on board. Subscribe if you want more fact-based breakdowns like this with real military tech, real tactics, and realistic scenarios. And hey, if you want to go a step further and support the channel directly, join the fleet. You'll get loyalty badges, priority replies, and help us bring more true maritime stories to the surface. Click join on our channel page and step on aboard. Until next time, stay sharp, stay steady, and remember, sometimes the threat you never see is the one that changes everything.